In today's video, we're going to be fixing every single NFL team's biggest weakness on their defense. Now, we split each defense up into three categories. You have the D-line, you have the linebackers, and then you have the secondary. Whichever one of these areas on each defense is the lowest overall average, that's the one we ended up improving. So let's start with Russell Wilson and his Broncos. Their secondary obviously is really good. Their linebackers, which they have four of them because they run a 3-4, their average was slightly higher than the linemen because of the new addition of Randy Gregory. So now they have a 99 overall D-line. We made sure when improving these defensive groups that everyone had abilities and at least one of them had X factor. Next up is the Cowboys, and even with a stud like DeMarcus Lawrence, their overall D-line was still less than their linebackers, mainly because Micah Parsons is such a beast. But now their front seven gets a lot better, man. All guys that can rush the passer and stop the run. The Vikings were an interesting one because Danielle Hunter is now playing outside linebacker in a 3-4, which means they have him, Kendricks, Hicks, and Zadarius. Arguably one of the best linebacker groups in the entire league. You have Harrison and Hitman in the secondary, which greatly boosted their overall. So that left their D-line, which is led by Dalvin Tomlinson and now two other guys who are also 99. Another team that's running a 3-4, this time their linebackers were the odd man out because Jeffrey Simmons has greatly improved. He boosted their overall of the D-line, man. Kevin Byard boosted the secondaries overall. So Harold Landry, Bud Dupree, and company are all 99s. Some teams were so good at all three phases that it was tough to figure out what the weak link on defense was, but some teams were the exact opposite, like the Houston Texans. Unfortunately, even though they drafted Derek Stingley, they have Desmond King, solid cornerback, but that's about it, man. Their D-line and linebackers were struggling, but now the linebackers are all 99. Finally, we have a team that was so good at all three phases that it was really tough to figure out their weak link. I mean, Donald on the D-line, Ramsey in the secondary, Wagner, and the linebackers were actually their weakest position group on defense. So now he's back to a 99, and so are the three guys that are next to him. The Raiders arguably have the best defensive end tandem in the league with Chandler Jones and Max Crosby, so we knew it was going to be between their secondary and linebackers. The linebackers end up having the lower average of overalls, so now Jayon Brown and company are all 99. Steelers defense might be one of the most underrated in the league. You have a 96 on the D-line, you have a 96 at the linebacker position, not to mention the 86 next to him, and then you had a star in Minkah Fitzpatrick, but he was not enough to carry the overall of the secondary, so they got a nice boost, and now they have 4 99s. The Seahawks highest overall player is Jamal Adams in the secondary, so we knew we weren't going to be upgrading that group. It actually ended up being the linebackers. Jordan Brooks leading the way. He now has X Factor, and they have 399. You'll be hard pressed to find a better defense than the Saints, man. You have a 93 on the D-line in Cameron Jordan, an 88 in Marshawn Lattimore in the secondary, also an 86 Marcus May, a 95 Honey Badger at strong safety. Their backup strong safety could start for most teams. Not to mention Demario Davis, one of the best inside linebackers in the league, but we had to choose one position group, even though he was already a 92. The average overall for the linebackers was not very high. So now they have 399 overall linebackers and arguably the best defense in the league. Another team that can throw their hat into that conversation is the Baltimore Ravens, led by this phenomenal D-line, Michael Pierce, Calais Campbell, two guys that are 89 or higher. Their secondary is incredible with Humphrey, Peters, Fuller, Marcus Williams, and Kyle Hamilton. So obviously their linebackers were the ones that need to boost, and now every single starter has at least star dev. Look out for the Ravens in this experiment. The Patriots have had a solid secondary for as long as I can remember, led by Devin McCourty. Their linebacker core is led by Matthew Judon, so their D-line is what needed a boost, man. Now Christian Barmore and company are all 99s. There was a time when the Panthers had arguably the best linebacker group in the NFL with Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis, but now with the addition of Matt Ioannidis on the D-line, that position group was stronger than the linebackers. The secondary, led by Jeremy Chin and Dante Jackson, was a higher overall. So now Shaq Thompson has X Factor, and they have 399 overall linebackers. When I did the most underrated video, a lot of people were saying Adrian Amos should have been the one for the Packers, and I agree, he's very underrated. So is this defense in general, man. You have him and Jair in the secondary, so we know it wasn't going to be them. Their linebackers, they have Rashawn Gary, another very underrated player. Him and Preston Smith boosted the overall, so even though they had Kenny Clark, who was already almost in the 90s, their D-line still needed a boost, so now he has 299s alongside him. Now, we don't know what Aiden Hutchinson's overall is going to be, but we can assume it's going to be around an 80 safety. I mean, the dude's an absolute beast. The Lions secondary, led by Deshaun Elliott, was a higher overall on average than their linebackers. So Alex Anzalone, new X factor, and then you have 299s next to him. Lions defense, much improved. The Jets D-line is definitely looking better and better each year. Quinnen and Carl Lawson, John Franklin Myers. You have Sauce Gardner in the secondary now with the very underrated Bryce Hall. So even though their highest overall player, second highest, was Mosley, the linebackers next to him were not very good. So now they're all 99. The Jaguars made some nice additions at the linebacker position. Oluokun, Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd. And now they're looking pretty good. Their secondary, the cornerbacks are especially underrated. Shaquille Griffin, Darius Williams. So their D-line needed to be upgraded. Now they have 399. New Giants rookie Kayvon Thibodeau will begin as a 99 in this experiment, man. Him and 3 other 99s are leading the way at linebacker because their linemen are pretty good, man. You have Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, both 85s. You have Adoree Jackson, Xavier McKinney in the secondary. So yeah, you have to wonder why the Commanders aren't a better football team when you look at how stacked their D-line is. Probably the best in the league. You also have a pretty good secondary with Fuller and William Jackson. So it was a no-brainer that their linebackers were the ones that needed a boost. Now the underrated Cole Holcomb is a 99 along with 2 other guys. The Niners' history in the secondary is pretty good. I mean, you have arguably the best safety in NFL history, Ronnie Lott. You have arguably the best cornerback in NFL history, Deion Sanders. But yeah, it's been a while since then, okay? And now that is actually their weakest position group because you have Bosa on the D-line, who's a 93. You have Fred Warner at linebacker, who's a 94, highest in the league. So yeah, the secondary needed to get upgraded. So now Jimmy Ward is X Factor, and they have 4 guys at a 99. With the addition of Casey Hayward Jr., him and Terrell are one of the best cornerback duos in the league. They also have Rashaan Evans, Deion Jones, so it wasn't going to be linebackers. Believe it or not, it was Grady Jarrett and the D-line who we improved. They're all now 99s. In terms of well-rounded defenses, the Eagles had to be up there, maybe top 10. D-line has been a staple of this team for the longest. You have big play Slay and Bradbury to go with Anthony Harris, Jaquaski Tart. Their secondary is unbelievable now. Even with the addition of Hassan Reddick, their linebackers were still the weak link. So now they have 399s and their defense is looking very solid. The Dolphins might be one of the few teams that has a better cornerback duo than the Falcons. Xavier Howard, Byron Jones. Now they're going to be playing Melvin Ingram at outside linebacker in the 3-4, which boosts the overall of the linebackers and suppresses the overall of the D-line. So that's where we improved. And now they have 3 guys at 99 overall. The Colts D-line is looking scary with DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart, Yannick Kwity. Secondary's unbelievable with Gilmore and Kenny Moore. So even though they have the maniac at linebacker, they still needed some help. So that's why they now have 399 overall LBs. The Chiefs' best player on defense is obviously Chris Jones on that D-line. Secondary's pretty solid with Snead, McDuffie, Justin Reed replacing the Honey Badger. So their linebackers, of course, needed some help. Now they have 399 overalls at that position. Bosa and Mack, arguably the best outside linebacker duo in the entire NFL. You have Derwin and JC Jackson, not to mention Bryce Callahan. Their secondary is insane. This defense is insane. Now that their D-line is all 99s, man, the Chargers could definitely make some noise in this experiment. Even though the Cardinals have a 60 overall starting at D tackle, they have a 66 starting at CB number 2. Their linebackers were somehow the lowest overall as a collective group, led by Isaiah Simmons. They now have 499 overalls there, and 6 guys that are 90 plus with Buda Baker and Watt. Hopefully that helps them enough to make a nice playoff push. Spoiler alert, this is the last team that will be improving their secondary in this video, man. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have arguably the best linebacker group, man. 3 guys and 84 higher. They have the best nose tackle in the league, you know, Vita Vea. They signed Akeem Hicks, so their D-line is unbelievable as usual. And their secondary was actually pretty good. It was the worst of the bunch. So yeah, now they're even more OP. The Browns bringing back Jadeveon helped out their D-line overall. You have him and Garrett. Denzel's a 90, not to mention John Johnson III at free safety. So JLK and company are now all 99s at the linebacker position. The Bills have Von at linebacker, along with 2 other guys that are very solid in Edmonds and Milano. You have probably the best safety duo in Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, if not in the top 2 or 3. Then you have one of the 5 or 3 best cornerbacks in the league in Tre'Davious White. So their D D-line was the one that we had to go with, and now this is arguably one of the best defenses in the league. The Bills are probably my pick to make it out of the AFC in this experiment. And before we get to Burrow's Bengals, why not leave your pick in the comment section? If anyone gets it right, you have to get both teams right that are going to make it to the Super Bowl in this experiment. I will Cash App you some money, okay? No cheating. I'll go back and see if anyone edited or if you commented late. First one to get it right. Anyways, on to the Bengals defense. It irks me every time I see Hendrickson at normal. Like, that should not be a thing. But him and that D-line is actually really good. You have Awuzie, Jesse Bates, Von Bell in the secondary. So it was their linebackers that we had to improve. Logan Wilson's X Factor, and now they have 399s. And last but not least, Roquan Smith in the Bears defense. He's one of the best at his position. You have Eddie Jackson, one of the best at his position. So of course it was going to be the D-line. Robert Quinn and 3 other guys are now 99 overall. So you know what time it is. Time to first like the video because it did take a while, and then let's simulate to the playoffs. My pick to make it in the Super Bowl from the AFC barely made the playoffs. The Bills at 9-8. Then you have the Colts, the Titans, Chargers, Dolphins, Ravens, and Broncos. In the NFC was the 15-2 Cardinals with the 1 seed. You have the Saints, who I think had one of the best defenses. You have the Packers, Cowboys, the G-Men, the Panthers, and the Buccaneers. I really think we could see 2 7 seeds face off in the Super Bowl. But first, let's check some stats. I'm guessing all across the board, numbers were down. Yeah, you only had one guy barely get over 5,000 yards. That's Mahomes. Brady didn't get 5,000 in a Madden 22 experiment. That's crazy. No one threw for 40 touchdowns. People were playing lockdown defense. How many interceptions was the most? 20 by Sam Darnold. Okay, I was expecting a little bit more. Rushing wise, no one had 2,000 yards. Okay, Nick Chubb had the most touchdowns at 22. No one else came close. Now, Mike Evans defied all odds. Almost had 2,000 yards receiving. On defense, you have 3 guys with 150 plus tackles. Jesus, 31 tackles for a loss by Neville Hewitt. 24 sacks by Dennis Gardeck. Hassan on the Eagles, 21.5. DeMarcus Lawrence, 21. 2 guys had 6 interceptions, Fulton and Jerome Baker. The best defense in the league was the Ravens. You had the Cardinals and Lions right behind them. Best pass defense was the Lions, then the Panthers and Rams. Best rush defense was the Patriots, and then the Bills and the Cowboys. And then the team with the lowest points allowed was the Cardinals, then the Lions and the Packers. Most sacks went to the Eagles and Dolphins, tied at the top. Cardinals right behind them with the Jags. Most fumble recoveries, the Dolphins, and then most interceptions, the Cardinals, Texans, and Saints. But of course, it was an offensive player that won MVP. Lamar Jackson still did his thing. A lot of quarterbacks in there. Nick Chubb. Dennis Gardeck, a defensive player in the top 10 for MVP. So we know what it takes. You have to get around 24 sacks to at least get some consideration. That might be a future video. Subscribe so you don't miss it. DPOY in the AFC went to Zach Sealer from the Dolphins. In the NFC, of course, it went to Dennis Gardeck. Best D lineman in the NFC went to Aaron Donald. Best linebacker, Gardeck. Best DB, Big Play Slay. As for the AFC, Seiler won Best D lineman. Gregory won Best linebacker. And Christian Fulton won Best DB. Yeah, so pretty much you have to break the record to get any consideration for MVP, man. That's crazy. What's also crazy is Lamar and the 2 seed beating out the Bills in round 1. So my prediction is gone. All right, the Bills are out. The Dolphins beat the Chargers. The Titans take care of the Colts. In the NFC, the Bucks take care of the Saints. You have the Packers beating the Panthers, and then the Cowboys beating division rival New York. Titans beat the 1 seed Broncos. The Ravens keep winning. They beat the Dolphins. In the NFC, the Bucks take care of the Cardinals, and the Packers destroy the Cowboys. They seem to always have their number in the playoffs. The Titans are headed to the Super Bowl. They're playing Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, who obliterated Tom Brady and the Bucks. But it's the Packers and Aaron Rodgers who have the lead in the 4th quarter. 3rd and 1 for the Titans. Down 14. Of course, you got to go to Henry. When you have a short yardage situation, he's going to get it done every single time. Henry draws the face mask penalty against Quay Walker. Now they're half a distance to the goal. You might as well go to him again. 1st and goal from the 4. Going to be a fake jet sweep. Henry, ooh, that's a nice tackle. It's going to bring up a 2nd and goal. You have Derrick Henry out the game. So yeah, at this point, you might as well just pass it. Tannehill over the middle, touchdown, Westbrook Akeen. It's a 1 possession game. Rodgers just needs a few first downs to seal this bad boy up. And remember, he's playing against a very stacked defense. A defense that was ranked 4th on the season, but they've allowed 350 yards, man. That's just how good Aaron Rodgers is. They have true clock on. You might want want to go ahead and just wait till 2 minutes. Yeah, don't even hype this. Rodgers is too smart. Okay, never mind. Wow. All right, he still gets the first. Who cares? The linebackers of the Titans are all at least superstar. You can see it under their player icon, and one of them gets the tackle for a loss. Ginormous play right there. It's going to bring up a 3rd and 8. This might be the game. They only have 1 timeout left. They don't get a stop here. It's over. They send the house. Rodgers over the middle. It's dropped by Landry, but at least they get off the field. Tannehill has 1 drive to make something happen. Another nice catch by Ckbirds. I could be saying it wrong, so please correct me in the comments if I am, man. Tannehill once again, another wide open guy, Derrick Henry, proving that he can do it all, man. Catching the ball out the backfield, 1st and 10. Great protection by this O-line. Tannehill off his back foot, going for it all. It's caught off the tip. Ckbirds inside the 5. Remember, the Packers D-line are all 99s, and somehow this O-line is blocking them. I spoke too soon. 3rd and goal at the 14. Less than 15 seconds. He's going to dump it off to Henry, and he draws the flag again. How do you make the same mistake if you're Quay Walker, bro? What are you doing? So now the clock stops. They're at the 5. You can't run it, though, because even though you have Henry, you just can't afford to get tackled in bounds. This is the play. Henry for the touchdown. The Titans are going to take the lead. But if there's one thing we know, is that Aaron Rodgers and Hail Marys go together like white on rice, like peanut butter and jelly, like Bonnie and Clyde, so you can't count them out until it's over, and the Titans are going to get their first Super Bowl win in franchise history. And that's what would happen if he fixed every defense's biggest weakness. Thank you so much for watching to the end. If you did enjoy it, please be sure to like button. Don't forget to subscribe for no. And I'll see you on the next one.